Yeah, I'm Bob Schooley. I'm a professor at the University of Illinois. Probably the main reason is that small mammals and rabbits are really important in the food web, so that they're important prey species for a lot of predators like coyotes and kit foxes, bobcats, various hawks and owls, and even snakes. But probably even more importantly, they can have a really big effect on vegetation. And so rabbits are herbivores, eat plants including grass seedlings. And a lot of the small mammals are granivores, meaning they eat seeds. And so these guys can be really selective in the stuff that they feed on, and they can have a really big effect on the vegetation composition and the vegetation structure in an area. We use two different methods for the small mammals versus the rabbits. For the small mammals, we sample them with small live traps. It's basically just a small metal box that has a door that slams shut when the animal goes inside. You bait it with oats to kind of attract them in. And so you have a web of traps that you place out there, and you run them for maybe 3 days and 3 nights. And you check them in the morning, and for each individual that you capture, among other things, you're going to record the species, and then you're going to mark it. The simplest way to mark it is just with a permanent pen like a Sharpie, just putting a little mark on its belly. That way you know if you catch it again, it's the same individual, and we can then count the number of unique individuals we get during that 3-day period, and that becomes your index to abundance for the small mammals. For the rabbits, it's a little bit different. They're bigger, they're wider ranging, and trapping is kind of difficult. So we do roadside spotlight surveys. And all that entails is going out on a full moon night. We have these standard routes that we drive along the roads at a standard speed. One person is a driver and a recorder, and then you have 2 people that are spotlighting out of the side of the pickup trucks. And you just record the number of rabbits you see, what the species is, and usually the distance from the road to. And so that's a little bit different. You don't actually handle the rabbits, it's just a visual survey where you get an estimate of the abundance. Well, not surprisingly, since we're working in the desert here, the first thing we think about is rainfall and how that affects our food resources. And so we think about rainfall giving a flush of resources, changing primary productivity, and so kind of bottom-up effects. But even that's not straightforward, because often with small mammals there can be a 1-year time delay, and so if we get really good rains this year, we might see a high abundance of rodents next year. And beyond that, like all species, there's multiple factors that affect their abundance, not just the food resources. And so other factors are predation, which we don't know a lot about, competition, and even disease. So all these things can kind of interact, but a big driver tends to be rainfall and food resources. There's lots. I think a lot of the cool stuff is the way they deal with living in the desert and the arid environment. A lot of them are nocturnal, which makes sense, and live in burrows. But what's really crazy to me is some of the species like the kangaroo rats don't need any free water to drink. They can get all the water they need from their food that they eat. And then there's some other interesting things related to that. They will store seeds when they go out there and forage for seeds. They have fur-lined cheek pouches, and they shove seeds in there, kind of like a baseball player with a bunch of sunflower seeds in their cheek. And then they go back to their burrows and they'll store seeds in the burrow, so that way they can feed where it's safer, and then they also have some cached away in case it gets times get worse. Beyond that, I think these guys are just a really cool part of the biodiversity in the Chihuahuan Desert. And so we're interested in how they might respond to environmental change, like climate change or just changes in the vegetation on the landscape.